There are $42 sitting in your bank account. Your next paycheck is still a week away. You're standing in the grocery store comparing two loaves of bread. One is fresh, the other is on clearance because it expires tomorrow. You already know which one you're going to buy. Not because you want to, because you have to. Now ask yourself one question. If someone doubled your paycheck overnight, would your life really change? Or would your expenses simply grow until you're broke all over again? That question changed one man's life forever, because the biggest financial breakthrough he ever had didn't come from making more money. It came from thinking differently about the money he already had. And if you've ever wondered why your paycheck seems to disappear faster every month, stay with me, because what you're about to hear could save you years of frustration. Every weekday begins exactly the same. The alarm screams at 5:45 in the morning. You hit snooze once, maybe twice, but eventually, reality wins. You throw on yesterday's work boots, grab a cheap cup of coffee, and head out the door before the sun is even up. The warehouse parking lot is already filling with cars. Inside, machines hum non-stop. Forklifts race across concrete floors. Boxes move from one truck to another like clockwork. For the next 10 hours, you lift, carry, scan, repeat. By lunchtime, your shoulders burn, your back aches, your hands feel numb. The guys from your shift walk across the street for burgers and fries. You stay behind. Not because you don't want to go, because spending $15 on lunch means giving away nearly an hour of your life after taxes. So you unwrap the sandwich you packed the night before. It's quiet. Nobody laughs at you, but nobody notices you either. When your shift finally ends, you drag yourself back home. Your body is exhausted, but your mind is even more tired, because tomorrow, you'll do it all again. Then payday arrives. For a few glorious minutes, life feels easy. Your phone lights up. Direct deposit received. You smile without even realizing it. Bills don't seem so scary anymore. You promise yourself, this month will be different. But by the end of the first weekend, reality starts taking its share. Rent, utilities, car insurance, phone bill, streaming subscriptions you barely watch, coffee stops, fast food, random online purchases, one dinner out with friends, a few impulse buys that seemed harmless. And suddenly, half your paycheck is gone. You don't even remember where most of it went. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Millions of hardworking people live this exact cycle every single month. Not because they're lazy, not because they're careless, because nobody ever taught them how money quietly disappears through small decisions. And those tiny decisions eventually become your entire financial life. Friday night rolls around. Your friends send the same message they always do. Come on, you've earned it. You hesitate for a second. Then you say yes. Dinner turns into drinks. Drinks turn into another stop. Someone suggests dessert. Someone calls an Uber. By the time you get home, you spent over $100. Tomorrow, you'll barely remember the conversations, but your bank account will. Here's the part almost nobody thinks about. That one night out didn't cost $100. It cost nearly 4 hours of your life. 4 hours you spent lifting boxes, standing on concrete, working while everyone else was sleeping. When you start measuring purchases in hours instead of dollars, everything changes. And although you don't realize it yet, that simple shift in thinking is about to rewrite your future forever. Because in just a few days, you're going to witness something that will force you to question everything you've believed about money. The following week, nothing changes. At least, that's what it feels like. Your account keeps shrinking. The groceries disappear faster than you expected. Your gas tank sits just above empty. Every purchase feels like another difficult decision. You catch yourself checking your banking app several times a day, hoping the numbers somehow look different. They never do. By Thursday, you're already counting the hours until payday. Again. And that's when something strange happens. You start paying attention to the people around you. Not the flashy ones, the quiet ones. The older guy who has worked at the warehouse for nearly 15 years. He drives the same old pickup every day. His boots are worn. His lunch is always homemade. He never complains about money. He never brags about it either. One afternoon during break, another coworker jokes, "Mike, when are you finally buying yourself a new truck?" Mike smiles, looks down at his sandwich, and calmly says, "My truck is paid for. My house is almost paid off. I sleep just fine." The table goes silent. Nobody knows how to respond. For the first time, you realize something. Maybe looking rich and being financially secure are two completely different things. That thought stays with you. But life has another lesson waiting. Saturday evening, you're walking home through your neighborhood when raised voices stop you in your tracks. A landlord is standing outside a small rental house. A family is gathered on the front lawn. 2 garbage bags sit beside them. Everything they own, packed into plastic bags. The father keeps apologizing. "I just need 1 more month." The landlord shakes his head. "You said that last month." The little girl hides behind her mother, holding onto her arm. She's scared. The mother is crying quietly. The father never raises his voice. He just lowers his head. You stand across the street, frozen. The landlord says something you'll never forget. "You work hard, but you never plan." Those words weren't meant for you, but they hit harder than anything you've ever heard. You work hard, but do you actually have a plan? Or are you simply hoping next month's paycheck will somehow fix everything? That night, sleep doesn't come easily. You stare at the ceiling for hours, not because you're worried about tomorrow, because you're worried about 10 years from now. If nothing changes, could that someday be you? That question refuses to leave your mind. The next morning, instead of sleeping late, you decide to do something you've never done before. You walk into your local public library. The building is almost silent. People are reading, taking notes, learning. You wander through the business section without really knowing what you're looking for. Then one book catches your attention. Its title is simple: The Psychology of Money. You take it home. That evening, you read the first chapter. Then another. One sentence stops you cold. Building wealth isn't about how much you earn, it's about what you keep. You read it again. Then a third time. Because suddenly, every paycheck you've ever received flashes through your mind. You didn't lose your money all at once. You lost it one small decision at a time. One impulse purchase. One unnecessary subscription. One expensive weekend. One emotional decision after another. And for the first time in your life, you stop blaming your paycheck. You start questioning your habits. That single shift in perspective feels small. But years from now, you'll realize it was the moment your future quietly began to change. The following Friday, your paycheck arrives. For a moment, your old habits start calling your name. Your phone lights up. "We're all going out tonight. Don't disappear on us. You deserve a break." Your thumb hovers over the screen. A month ago, you would have said yes without thinking. This time, you put the phone down. Not because you suddenly became disciplined, because you're tired. Tired of starting over every single month. Instead of driving into town, you stop at the grocery store. You buy rice, chicken, eggs, frozen vegetables. Nothing exciting, nothing Instagram-worthy. Just enough food to get you through the week. That night, you cook dinner in your tiny apartment. It isn't fancy, but for the first time in a long time, you don't feel guilty while eating. You feel in control. The next morning, you grab a notebook from a desk drawer. On the first page, you write one sentence. "Every dollar gets a job before I spend it." You divide the page into 4 simple sections: bills, food, savings, fun. No complicated spreadsheets, no financial jargon, just a simple plan you can actually follow. Then you make one rule. Before buying anything, wait 24 hours. If you still need it tomorrow, then consider it. If not, walk away. At first it feels almost impossible. Advertisements follow you everywhere. Social media tells you to upgrade your phone. Your coworkers show off new sneakers. Friends talk about vacations they can't really afford. For a moment, you feel like you're falling behind. Then you remember something. Most people don't post their credit card statements. They post the highlight reel. That realization changes the way you look at success. A few days later, you walk past a store window. A pair of shoes catches your eye. They're on sale. The old version of you would have walked inside without hesitation. Instead, you stop. You do the math. Those shoes don't cost $100. They cost nearly 5 hours of lifting heavy boxes. 5 hours away from your family. 5 hours your back will never get back. You keep walking. And surprisingly, it doesn't feel like losing. It feels like winning. Weeks begin to pass. Your savings account still isn't impressive. $20, $35, $58. Some people would laugh at numbers that small. But every dollar represents something bigger. A promise you kept to yourself. For the first time, your money isn't disappearing. It's staying. Then life tests you. One rainy morning, your bike tire blows out on the way to work. The repair isn't expensive, but it wipes out almost every dollar you've managed to save. You sit on the curb holding the damaged tire. For a few minutes, the old thoughts come rushing back. See? Nothing ever changes. You'll always be broke. You almost believe them. Almost. Then you remember the notebook. You remember the family standing outside that rental house. You remember Mike's quiet confidence. So instead of quitting, you go home. Open the notebook. Turn to a fresh page. And start again. No drama, no self-pity. Just another plan. That night, something unexpected happens. You realize real financial progress doesn't come from never making mistakes. It comes from refusing to let one bad week become a bad life. That lesson becomes more valuable than every dollar you've saved so far. Because discipline isn't built when everything goes right. It's built on the days when giving up feels easier. And without realizing it, you're becoming someone completely different. Not richer, not yet, but stronger. And sometimes, that's exactly where wealth begins. Months begin to pass. Then something happens that hasn't happened in years. You reach the end of the month, and there's still money sitting in your account. Not thousands, not even hundreds. Just enough to make you smile. Because for the first time, your paycheck lasted longer than your bills. That feeling is addictive. Not the money itself, the peace. You stop checking your banking app every few hours. You stop worrying every time your phone buzzes. You stop lying awake wondering how you'll make it to the next payday. Nothing around you looks different. You're still working in the same warehouse, still lifting the same boxes, still clocking in before sunrise. But inside, everything has changed. Your coworkers are still complaining about money during lunch. This time, instead of joining the conversation, you open your notebook. One coworker laughs. What's that thing going to do? Make you a millionaire? You smile. No. But it might stop me from staying broke. Everyone laughs. You don't argue, because some lessons only make sense when you're ready to hear them. Over the next year, your routine becomes almost boring. Wake up early, go to work, cook at home, read every night, save a little, repeat. There are no shortcuts, no viral business ideas, no overnight success, just hundreds of ordinary decisions made the right way. On weekends, instead of wasting entire afternoons scrolling through social media, you start learning. Personal finance, sales, marketing, business, negotiation. One book leads to another. One idea leads to another. Then one evening, you decide to take a chance. You start a tiny side business. Nothing impressive, just a simple service helping local businesses with something they needed. The first month, you earn almost nothing. The second month, a little more. Then another customer shows up. Then another. You keep your warehouse job, because you're not chasing quick money anymore. You're building stability. There are setbacks. A client disappears without paying. Equipment breaks. Some weeks, you wonder if it's worth the effort. But every time you think about quitting, you remember who you used to be. The man standing in a grocery store, choosing expired bread because it was all he could afford. You refuse to become that person again. Years pass. Your savings slowly become the down payment on a small rental property. Nothing luxurious, nothing anyone would post online, just a modest investment. The rent from that property doesn't make you rich. It buys you something even better. Options. A few years later, you buy another, then another. Slowly, patiently, without trying to impress anyone. One afternoon, you run into an old friend. The same friend who always had the newest phone, the nicest clothes, the expensive car. You catch up over coffee. He looks tired. He admits the truth. The lifestyle everyone admired was financed with debt. Eventually, the payments became impossible. He had to sell the car, downsize his apartment, start over. He looks at you and asks, "How did you figure it out?" You smile. There wasn't one big moment. It was thousands of small decisions. The boring ones. The ones nobody claps for. He sits quietly for a moment, then says something that stays with you. "I wish someone had told me that 10 years ago." You look him in the eye. It's not too late. Because you know something now that you didn't know back then. The best time to change your financial future was years ago. The second best time is today. A few years later, you find yourself driving down a street you haven't visited in a long time. Everything looks familiar. The old convenience store, the bus stop, the small rental houses lined up along the sidewalk. Then you see it. The very house where you once watched a family being forced to leave. You pull over, sit quietly for a moment, and realize something. Years ago, you stood on the same street terrified that one day it could be you. Today, that fear is gone. Not because life became perfect, because you finally built something stronger than a paycheck. You built stability. Months later, you receive the keys to your own home. It's not a mansion, it doesn't have marble floors or a 6-car garage. But every wall, every window, every room represents thousands of small decisions made over many years. You walk inside. The house is completely empty. No furniture, no decorations, just silence and memories. You remember the mornings you walked to work because you couldn't afford the bus. The weekends you stayed home while everyone else went out. The meals you cooked instead of ordering. The purchases you decided not to make. In that quiet living room, you realize something most people never do. Freedom isn't the ability to buy everything you want. Freedom is no longer being controlled by money. A few weeks later, your mother comes to visit. She walks slowly through the house, smiling as she looks from room to room. Then suddenly, she starts crying. You ask if something is wrong. She shakes her head. "No, I'm just proud of you." She tells you she remembers the nights when she worried your hard work would never be enough. She remembers watching you struggle, watching you doubt yourself, watching you keep going anyway. You hug her. Neither of you says another word, because some moments don't need an explanation. Years continue to pass. Your small business grows. Your investments grow. More importantly, your character grows. People in your community no longer know you as the warehouse worker. They know you as someone they can trust, someone who keeps his word, someone who remembers what it's like to struggle. Whenever a tenant falls behind because of a genuine hardship, you listen before you judge, because you never forgot where you came from. Looking back, you finally understand the lesson that changed everything. Building wealth was never the hardest part. The hardest part was saying no when everyone else was saying yes. It was staying home when your friends went out. It was driving the old car, keeping the old phone, wearing the same jacket for another winter. Those choices weren't exciting, they weren't glamorous, but they quietly built a life that money alone could never buy. Here's the truth most people spend their entire lives chasing. A bigger paycheck doesn't automatically create a better future. Better habits do. The day your income increases, your habits will decide whether that money becomes freedom or just bigger bills? So before this video ends, ask yourself one honest question. When your next paycheck arrives, will it disappear? Or will it become the first brick in the life you've always wanted to build? The choice won't be made by your employer, or the economy, or luck. It will be made by the small decisions nobody else sees. One decision, 1 week, one paycheck at a time. If this story made you think differently about money, share it with someone who's working hard but feels like they're getting nowhere. And if you're ready to take control of your financial future, subscribe. Because this channel isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about building a life where money stops being a source of stress and starts becoming a tool for freedom. Remember this: your paycheck can pay your bills, but your habits can change your entire life. I'll see you in the next story.